So there are more svarim coming in from Israel. Okay. We're on page Tes. ViYesod HaChassidus, Gershon, Henoch. Gershon Henoch is explaining the transition from the years of Tohu to the years of Torah. And let's just read very quickly to go back in to where we are on page Ches. Sort of in the middle of the page, Vayom Elokim Yi'or Ze'Avraham. Vayom Elokim Yi'or Ze'Avraham. Page Ches, around 8 lines down. Because I'll tell us on the pasuk Yi'or that Or is Avraham. You know, Or, light, was creation. The beginning of time was the creation of light, but in Ruchnius, the world was in darkness, those generations. The world was in darkness until the light of Avram began to shine. And the Rabbi explains in what changed. Did Avram Avinu, what light did he bring to the world? How did things change? That Hashem is also in this world, which is the ViYesod of Chassidus. The name of the Sefer, the ViYesod of Chassidus, is that Hashem is in this world. Until that time, the way of Avodas Hashem was Basagas Shem Kel Elyon. Hashem was Kel Elyon. He was God above. You know how people normally will do that, when they speak about God, they'll put their hand over here and they'll look up. God is someplace out there. Kel Elyon. So there is the beginning of this recognition of Cong Shemayim V'Aretz, that Hashem is creator of heaven and earth. But it's more than that. He continues, Elyon means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is something that we can't comprehend, we can't grasp. It's not just where he lives. That look above means that it's beyond me and it's something that I can't, there's no point to me trying to understand or think about. It's the Malam HaSagas Tfisis Adam Chen Haya Limud HaTorah Avodim HaShahaya Kadam HaTorah. We were talking about last Erev Shabbos. What was the base medrash of Shem and Aver and the Sefer of Adam HaRishon and the Henoch. There was Torah that was being taught. Haya Begodel Izhbitz-Radzin from Nisyonis Havonis Atzuma, that was with tremendous difficulty to so on like this. Higiu LaSagas Hidias Metzias Hashem Yisbarach Sha'an Haga Haisa B'Midas Elyon. That with great difficulty they came to some level of Yedias Metzias Hashem, about Hashem's existence, but they understood that Hanhaga was Hanhaga in a way of Midas Elyon, beyond man's grasp and comprehension, which of course is true. We can't understand the essence of Chalila, we can't even try to comprehend Hashem's essence, but let's continue. Here's where we're up to. Avram Avinu Hayamakir Hashem Yisbarach Melech Al Aretz Kavoda. Avinu recognized that Hashem Yisbarach Melech Al Aretz Kavoda, all of creation, everything that exists is filled with the kavod of Hashem. V'heisya Orlas HaHester, and not only did he remove his own personal orla on his body, but he removed the covering. Heisya Orlas HaHester HaMasteres, he removed that covering that was hiding, that was concealing ben Or Hashem Yisbarach l'Hasagas Adam, between the Or of Hashem, the light of Hashem, and the Hasaga of the human being, Hasagas Adam. If you look in footnote Dalet on the bottom, V'yisal Zed V'meshilach, he brings from his grandfather, the Meshilach, the Izhbitz-Radzin. Mashama Avram Avinu Alav Shalom B'hinei ben Veisi Yorish Oisi. He's talking, of course, about about his Evet. He says, Ben Beis Yerusha, he says, Lahaya Kavnasal Haina Rechusha Shel El Mazeh. When he said Ben Beis Yerusha, he wasn't talking about a Yerusha of property or of things of this world. But Bikesh Al Ikr Avadaso Chukaso, what Abraham's concern was whether or not what he brought to the world, what he revealed in the world, whether it was going to continue. That was the Yerusha he was concerned with. Who was going to continue with this? He says, because the revolution that he began was the uncovering of Elokus in this world, and everything in this world. And how is that going to continue on after him in the Olam HaAsiyah? Hashem is Baruch Sholi the Moshe Bakol. V'yikari gam Elokei ha'aretz. Hashem is not only Kei HaShamayim, he's not Kel Elyon, not just Kel Elyon, but he's Konei Shamayim v'aretz, Elokei ha'aretz. Hashem is here in this world. And the whole Indian of, which we'll see of the digging of the Be'eros, which is an odd thing that was going on with the wells, which obviously had to do with finances and so on, with this place just see us in this world. But the Be'eros that correspond to the Batei HaMikdash, it's all the Gili of Elokus, and uncovering and excavating Elokus in the Bria, in this world. So back on top. Therefore, we see what took place, that after Avram Avinu had a bris milah, that it says in Pasuk, Vayikra Sham b'Shem Hashem Kel Olam, that as the Orla was removed from Avram Avinu, he is now able to speak about HaKadosh Baruch Hu as being Hashem Kel Olam, not Kel Elyon, but Kel Olam. That his Metzias is seen and is recognizable and can be experienced. Kol Havayas Habriya, with everything that exists. In other words, all that we've been learning about in Yam HaChachma, everything in Yam HaChachma, of that reality of living a life of Elokus in this world, in every single moment of your life, that's called Kel Olam. That's Kel Olam. That began with Avram Avinu. Ukadisi b'Medrash, Yibsari Echze Eloika. The Medrash brings the pasuk. The pasuk is actually an Iyah. But the Medrash brings the pasuk on the bris milah of Avram Avinu. Yibsari Echze Eloika. That with my flesh, I can see God. I gaze upon Hashem. Yibsari Echze Eloika. Ilulei Sha'asisi Cong. If I would not have removed the Orla from my flesh, Mehechan HaYakadosh Baruch Hu Nigla Alai. How would HaKadosh Baruch Hu have been revealed to me? She'aroi Mikol Pratav as Or Hashem's Baruch. Avram Avinu began to see Mikol Pratav in every single detail in his life, in everything in life, in everything in the world. He saw Hashem's Baruch. Umashem Etzinu Sh'Oma Avram Avinu Harimoisi Yodi El Hashem Kel Elyon. Therefore, when you look in Chum, you'll see that when he said those words, that I lift my hands up, El Hashem Kel Elyon, that's before the bris milah. So that change, I mean, he was thinking about it, he was wondering about it, that's what he was kept on asking me. There must be a bira, mi bal habira. Who's the balabas over here? It wasn't about there being a creator. He was saying, who's the balabas over everything in this world? He began to think about it, he was wondering about it, but it's only after he had the bris milah that this change took place, that now he's able to see that Hashem is Kel Olam, not just Kel Elyon. So that reference to Hashem as Kel Elyon, that's before the bris milah. Mavur in Yonah b'fnim, Parshas Lech Lecha in the Beis Yaakov, and the Avos taught, Chazal tells us that the Avos taught Torah to their children. Kedis of Medrash Tanchuma, or Rabbi, Chazal tell us that the Jews had scrolls while they were in Mitzrayim during those years of slavery. They had some type of scrolls, But they had stories, they had some records of the Ovis, and what the Ovis were teaching, what the Ovis were talking about. Unquestionably, there was some of the Torahs that were from the beginning that we spoke about last week, and they had these Chazal say Mishtashim behem Shabbos l'Shabbos, that they would. This is what gave them mechias Shabbos l'Shabbos. They kept on going. So all of this is what was before Matan Torah, before Ma'amad HaSinai. Achein b'Matan Torah, however, by Matan Torah, Nemar, ViYesod Hashem al HaSinai. So it finally tells us of Kodesh Baruch Hu's Kivyochel appearance in this world. ViYesod Hashem descended al HaSinai. Look at the Izhbitz-Radzin. It says in the Zohar Kodesh, page Yud. We'll read the Lashon HaKodesh. Lamadu, Yeshar Hahi, Shenigla Kodesh Baruch Hu Mar Sinai. At that time, by Har Sinai, when Hashem was Mizgala, Hayiroim Kol Yisrael. All Bnei Yisrael were able to see that. Were able to see what their eyes saw, but Kamisha Raya Or Ba'ashoshes, like a person who sees light through a glass, through an ashoshes. And with that light, each one was able to see. But even Yecheskel Hanavi could not see. Matam, Yishum, She'elu Koilos Ha'alyonim, Niglu Ke'echad. That the Koilos Ha'alyonim, the Koilos, the sounds from the higher world were revealed as one. As it says in the Pasuk, Shekoso, V'chol ha'am roim es hakolos. V'chol ha'am roim es hakolos. That the entire nation were able to see the kolos. And this is very connected to Tkiyah Shofar, as the Zohar continues. So he says, well, first the Rabbi says, V'inyan hakolos marla kol pnima. What do you mean they saw the kolos? So it's referring to kol pnima, the inner kol. Kol Pnima, a voice from within. She'ozn is Galili Yisrael, she'kol ha'olam molek k'vayid Hashem Yisrael. This inner voice, this Kol Pnima that the Zohar is talking about means that they began to hear Hashem's voice coming from a glass of water, from every plant, from every flower. The world was filled with kolos, and it was so clear to them that everything was Elokus. That's what it means. Roim es hakolos. They could see these sounds. Hashemayim nesafim k'vayid kel. Every single thing. They heard Hashem coming from everything that existed. And that's the inyan, the Zohar says, of the Tkiyah Shofar that took place, the sound of the Shofar that was at Har Sinai. Which the sound of the Shofar, the Zohar says, is the Kol Pnima. It's the inner Kol of all that exists that's coming through the Shofar. Shekol ha'olam meloi k'vayid Hashem Yisrael. That the whole world is Kavod Hashem. V'mechayev v'mahava kol davar tamid. And Hashem is mechayev, is giving life and existence to everything, every second, all the time. It's not that He was just the creator of heaven and earth, but He's creating every single second. And they were for that moment, they were able to hear, to see these kolos of Hashem's presence giving life to all that exists. As it says in the Zohar Kodesh, Amar Rabbi Shimon, Bo'u re'eh, shekol ha'shofar hu ha'makom shel ha'kol. Ki haynu shekosov, kal kol moitzei pi Hashem, yichye ha'adam. Mahu moitzei pi Hashem, zeh kol ha'shofar. It's specific to learn this sentence from the Zohar in Erev Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Shimon says that the kol ha'shofar hu ha'makom shel ha'kol, ki al kol moitzei pi Hashem. Kol moitzei pi Hashem means that Hashem's the voice that comes from Hashem's mouth. The dvar Hashem shemayim nasa ruach piv kol tzivam. that voice that comes from Hashem's mouth is what gives life to all that exists. And this kol is what they were able to experience. They experienced hearing, seeing this called Moitzei Pi Hashem. And the Moitzei Pi Hashem, I'll call Moitzei Pi Hashem Yichya Hadam, that is the chiyus of a person to experience that Moitzei Pi Hashem. And Rabbi Shimon says, what is that? That's the Kol HaShofar. So when it says that the shofar, it says that they heard the shofar at Har Sinai and rose HaKarlos, it means that to this day, somehow, mysteriously, when the shofar is blown properly, according to halacha, when the shofar is blown, that somehow through that there's this infusion into our lives of this reality of Moitzei Pi Hashem, that Hashem Kivyochel is blowing through the Baal Tekeya into the shofar. It's called Moitzei Pi Hashem, is the Kol HaShofar. And that's what they experienced. U'b'tikkunei Izhar, Tikkun Samach Tes, U'chenegdam Amar David Sheva Karlos, Shel Havel Hashem B'nei Elim, that we're going to say tonight by Kabbalah Shabbos. There are 7 Kol Hashem Alavayim, Kol. There are 7 Karlos in the Pasuk, in the Psukim. The Kol Shel Havel Hashem B'nei Elim, Al Elu Sheva Kosov, Ki Lo Lechem Levado Yichya Adam, Kal Kol Moitzei Pi Hashem Yichya Ha'adam. So the Karlos that we read about from Tehillim by Kabbalah Shabbos are the Karlos of the Shofar and the Karlos of Kol Moitzei Pi Hashem. Ubezar Kodesh, Torah Loma Nikreis Torah. Why is the Torah called Torah? Umishum Shi Moira Umagala Asher Yasosam V'Lo Noida. Because through the Torah we are shown. The word Torah is lahoros. Lahoros means shown, means being taught and being shown. Masha Yasosam V'Lo Noida. That through the Torah, through that change that took place of Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai, Hashem's descent into the world, so to speak, that the Shekhinah Kodesh descended into this world in such a way by the Torah, that from that time and on, it was possible to be able to experience Elokus in this world, which before was Sosam V'Lo Noida. But before that, they were theorizing, they were contemplating, they were thinking about Kel Elyon, but they were not able to experience that reality of the sound of and the sight of Kol Moitzei Pi Hashem of Melech Al Aretz Kavod. Look at footnote Hey. The Izhbitz-Radzin of Henoch Schusi Rabbi Gershon Henoch also wrote, among his many others, from a Sefer called Henoch on the Zohar Kodesh. Vizel there, Rabbi Gershon Henoch writes the following: Sha'ad Matan Torah lo nisbases ha'olam. Until the Torah was given, the world was not established. Was not this world. Of course, Hashem created everything, but that reality of Elokus in the world was not really clear. Because there had not yet taken place a zivug shalom, a complete mating of the light of Hashem with creation. There wasn't yet a zivug, there wasn't yet a chasna, a zivug, between Hashem and the world that He created. He was distant, He was removed. And that is the Gemara that Rashi brings down in Bereshis on Yom HaShishi, that Hashem made a Tanai with Ma'aseh Bereshis. The Jewish people, Israel, will receive the Torah, mutav, then it's good. Meaning then there's a Mazel Tov. Then there's a zivug, there's a shidduch between Hashem and the world. And if not, then everything will return to that state of pre-Maimon HaSinai, which was tohu vavo. Some sort of an existence of nothingness, of emptiness, of a world without the Elokus. V'chein hu b'zohar kodesh b'midbar, shegmar briyas ha'olam nisbases b'matan Torah. The Zohar says that in Bamidbar as well. Ve'enyan ki kol yesod habriya lo nisratses les alem What's in Hashem's Baruch Hu Levushim Gashmi? Rak b'matan Torah Ra Sha'idei Ma'aseh HaTorah v'Hamitzvos Yis'alu Kol Levushim Gashmi Gam Kein L'Ha'ir Lahem Shagam Bam Nimtza Or Yakar. Rabbi Gershon is saying the following: that until Matan Torah, the world was miserable. The world couldn't come to terms with itself because of the concealment of the Creator. The world was in a state of misery, of sadness. All of creation, everything that existed, being covered in these levushim gashmiyim. Like Chazal tell us that the Mayim Elyonim, when they were sent down, were crying, right? So then, Hashem had to appease the Mayim, the water. And that, so by the second day of creation, so that Hashem divided the higher waters and the lower waters, and the lower waters are crying that they want to be back with Hashem. Which we've spoken about many times, especially by Sukkot. It's all in you of Shav the Mayim B'Sosin, of Simchas Beis HaShoeva, and the Mayim HaTachtonim are able to connect their source, and so all of that. So until Matan Torah, Rabbi Gershon is saying that until Matan Torah, the world was miserable, covered in these levushim of gashmis, in these garments, in these physical garments. And Rak Matan Torah, Ra Sha'idei Ma'aseh Torah v'Hamitzvos, and only through Matan Torah did all of creation see. Every single molecule, every cell, every plant, every animal somehow saw that what? Every clump of dirt. That Sha'idei Ma'aseh Torah v'Hamitzvos, that through this new reality of Torah and mitzvahs, Yis'alu kol halavushim hagashmiyim gam kein l'ha'ir lahem, that all physical creation will be uplifted, and the light of Hashem will be able to be seen, and through what? Through all the levushim hagashmiyim, through the water, through the cup of water as well. L'ha'ir lahem shagam bam Nimtza Or Yakar, Shagam Bam Nimtza Or Yakar, that even in them there is this Or Yakar, this precious light, the Or Yakar of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So all of creation suddenly found a purpose in its existence. And until that time it was just Shlapzach, what is this? It's nothing. It's nothing. Because there was no zivug yet between the Or of Hashem and creation. So all of creation was in that place of the separation between Kel Elyon, so there's their Elyonim, and that's what it means when the waters were crying. And Anan Bein L'Mehevi Kami Malka, we want to be with the King. We want to be in Hashem's presence. And all of creation, in whatever way that means, all of creation felt this longing to be back with HaMelech, to be back with the King. And this is really playing itself out. Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of the Nisi, or the separation, and then the building the Malchus again, Hayom Haras Olam, Zayom Tchilas Masecha, the creation of Adam Rishon, and when Adam and Chava were first created, so they were back to back and they couldn't see each other, and only by Rosh Hashanah when they were cut, so then they were able to see Panim upon him, which is the Indian Maimon Hasina, which is Panim upon him, and the day of Rosh Hashanah is the day of the Nisi, where we're able to start again from the beginning, to actually face HaKadosh Baruch Hu and see HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to experience HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be a Namadrega of Roimus HaKolos. That's the whole idea of Rosh Hashanah, to be able to say HaMelech. That Hashem's Malchus is Bakol Mashal. Hashem's Malchus is everything is Hashem's Malchus. There is nothing without Hashem. That experience of Malchus of Bakol Mashal was similar to Hashem. Therefore, the whole Rosh Hashanah is similar to Hashem. Listen to the words of David. Try to remember and to think what it must have looked like. I told you many times, at this time of the year I always tell you that the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Tanya, that the Mizrach Shemagid wouldn't begin the Shiur because the Alter Rebbe wasn't there. He asked, where's Zalman? Where's Shnei Zalman? He wasn't at the Shiur. And he sent him to go look for him. And they were looking and they saw that by his stender in Shul, they saw that the stender was in pieces, it was all broken. And they didn't know where he was, and they went out and they saw that he was in the woods, in the forest behind the Medrash, and he had a piece of the stender, and he was walking with a piece of stender, like a stick, and he was screaming out, V'yeda kol yitzur ki at yitzar, Kol Pu'ul Sheki'ata Ba'al. That let everything that exists know that there's a God. And they came back, and the Mesilas Maggid, they told the Mesilas Maggid, and the Mesilas Maggid said, he says, even the piece of wood he's infusing with Elokus, with that reality, with that knowledge of Elokus, infusing meaning that he feels that he's in that place of Shnei Zalman, about time. That's the holy need of Rosh Hashanah, is coming to that Hakara, to be able to say Hamelech, not in Shemayim. Of course in Shemayim. But it's interesting, the Baal Tefillah begins, the Baal Shachris, where does he say Hamelech? He doesn't say it by the Omer. He says it from his place. And the Sefer HaKadoshim tell us that every minhag that we have is very, very, very significant and very deep. Why does he say it from his place? Because the meaning of Hamelech is not just someplace out there, it's from your place. Bikashta misham is Hashem Elokecha Matzasa. Misham. Bikashta misham. That place in your life, in this place where you are. Therefore, the calling out of Hamelech is not from the Omer. The Omer is, it's from the place that you're in. From that place that you're in. That's Hamelech. That's the reality. That all the Levushim Gashim, everything that, by Ma'amar Sinai, all the Levushim Hagashim, everything in the world was screaming out Hamelech. The whole world was Hamelech. That was by Ma'amar Sinai. It's called Levushim Hagashim Gam Lahoyelhem Shagam Bam Nimtza Oyaka, that Gam Bam Nimtza Oyaka, that all of that sadness of being separated from HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to an end. With this recognition that Kol Motzei Pi Hashem, everything is Motzei Pi Hashem, and we are Motzei Pi Hashem. Every single blade of grass is Motzei Pi Hashem. It's Molei Elokus. It's filled with Elokus, and now every single person will be able to recognize Hashem and to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through everything that exists, which is the Yesod HaChassidus, which the world was forgetting again until the Baal Shem HaKadosh came, which he's going to talk about. What is it?
Is it possible that when Hashem created the world and said Tov Mode, everything was that way, and then after the sin it went away?
Sure.
And before the sin it was like this?
Yeah. And that's what, when there's an expression we find in Chazal that the Rishon, there was Moshe Bar Losa, that he covered he was Noilad Mohul, but he covered his bris. The sin was the covering. That everything had, there was that Gan Eden reality. That was what Gan Eden was. It was covered. That was the Orla, Moshach Orlosa. That everything was covered. So there was this Orla that was covering all of creation. And that Orla separated between earth and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem was everywhere, but it wasn't possible for us to know that. It wasn't possible to know that. Avram Avinu was the beginning of that peeling away of the cover. That's why he was the one that's mi Bal Habira. There's a Bal Habira. Who's the Bal Habira? And that was the beginning. Therefore, page Yudal, let's just read a little bit. Remember the 26 generations from creation until Matan Torah corresponding to 26. Because Hashem was taking care of the world b'chesed, because there was no avodas Hashem. Those 26 generations. Keep Matan Torah here, v'higdal chazdo, because the greatest kindness of all. Now the world moved into something else. The greatest chesed of all is not to receive food for nothing and welfare. It's now the world is going to be a world of Torah, mitzvahs. Like David Melech says in Tehillim, you have to work very hard in order to eat. Meaning you have to do something. It's not just coming down the world was just, it was rained, it was whatever the world needed for those 26 generations, but it wasn't because there was a relationship with Hashem. It was just given. It was just Rahmanis. It was just chesed, unearned chesed. But now a new thing began. A whole new way of life began with Maimon HaSinai. With what? Right? That Al Yidei HaKaras Or Hashem Yisbarach, through our working hard to see that Or of Hashem. To understand and to learn the depths of Torah and the secrets of Torah, to be able to come into contact with Hashem's Metzias in our lives, in this world. That's called, what the Melech said, it's not free anymore. The 26 generations of Kilo Adam Chazdo are done. Now you have to work. And the working is hard in Torah. And trying to hear those sounds. Because Maimon HaSinai was at the Haresa, but afterwards, our Bechira, especially after we were in the Midbar, we came to Eretz Yisrael. So then it began the time of Yegia Kepecha Kisoichel. That's Ki Chofetz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakas Yisrael, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to be Mezaka us. Therefore, He gave us a life of Torah and Mitzvahs. Torah He Kalelas Kol Habriya. And the Torah includes in it, everything in creation is in the Torah. The Torah is that tool which enables us to hear the Kalelas of creation. That's the tool. Through Limud Torah, one is able to hear the Kalelas, because to see the Kalelas. She'ein shum adam shel yuchal hagia al kol hasaga ad kama shehigdal Hashem yisbarach. From that time on, every person will be able to come to the hasaga, again, to the limit that Hashem set. There is a limit. Even Moshe Rabbeinu was Tachasvei Ma'at Melukim. Even is it 35? No. Even Moshe Rabbeinu was Tachasvei Ma'at. He came to 49, not to 50. But man can come to that place while still being in the guf, in the physical body, can come to a place Ad Kam She'igla Hashem Yisbarach, as it says in the Zohar Kodesh, which will continue as Hashem. Next Erev Shabbos is regular. It's a Shabbos.